So I've been playing Yakuza 4. The original Yakuza was an open-world beat-em-up set in the small, densely packed district of Kamurocho. It featured simple, awkward, but incredibly fun combat revolving around contextual button prompts a la wrestling games and a system called Heat, which was essentially this special meter thingy that filled up as you dunked dudes, allowing you to do so in a more dashing fashion. Then along came Yakuza 2, where the awkward prefix pertaining to combat was as good as gone due to them having sped shit up considerably by adding more ways for you to charge up heat and speeding up that process as well. Besides, they added a brand spanking new district and a deep, interesting noir-style story that completely rocked the tits off anyone who played it. And so, for Yakuza 3 to be able to do the same, they had to add another district, which they did. Offer up a smorgasbord of flashier and sexier heat moves, which they also did. And go full HD. Yeah. They did that too. So now, we of the ThorHighheels Corporation would like to formally announce the Yakuza 4 review, featuring an all-new, stunning area with... what? No new district? Oh, Instead, we opted to have the entire fucking thing take place in Kamurocho alone. Again, it's fine, shut up. And expand upon it by adding more levels of elevation like an underground shopping mall and navigational rooftops, but of course we did completely expand upon the fast, beefy combat in every single way by... We're not doing that either? Oh. Okay, but then what did we do? Multiple characters? Intertwining storylines? Different combat styles? Holy shit, that's brilliant! Normally, this would be the part where I say stuff like, Yakuza 4 follows the tale of Kazuma Kiryu, but it doesn't really. I mean, he's there. Look at his cute face. But he sure as fuck ain't taken center stage. As I said, he's forced to share it this time with 3 dashing young lads, being Akiyama, a lazy, carefree loan shark, Saejima, a man on death row for killing a couple of dozen dudes, and Tanimura, a corrupt cop known on the streets as the parasite of Kamurocho. Wow, what a great bunch of solid dudes. Surely nothing will go wrong. It does. Like, really badly even. Anyway, you don't really get to pick who you play as instead the story progresses normally as it does, only now every 6 or so hours an event will happen prompting a character switch. Which I expected to be a huge fucking mess, but while not entirely without its issues, overall the game turned out to function pretty fucking immaculately, both on the story front as well on the gameplay front. Said gameplay is pretty much the same as always, just now because of the multiple dudage, there's more than one single playstyle. But before we go over that, I just want to go over how the gameplay's improved as a whole. You know, to give it like some context and shit. Some of the bigger improvements regarding the combat is a now much larger emphasis on taunts, an upgrade system that advertises and supports them, and how they, and some other things, bump up the heat gain. Aggressive curb stomps, head smashes, and home run face bashing are all more common than ever, and boy golly dingus do I love it. The simple and streamlined upgrade system adds to this in a cool way too. What I mean with that is that unlike the first 3 games that utilize somewhat funky layouts and terminology, Yakuza 4 has them all lined up in this easy-to-read basic bitch list in an order that allows you to learn the essentials within the first few minutes. You know, shit like getting mad heat through cheeky taunts and quickly ground pounding a down dude, and of course you're also able to lengthen and strengthen even existing combos, still making the end of each individual run feel like you've actually got somewhere. Though, that said, the lists themselves are considerably smaller given that shit's been spread out across multiple characters, but I honestly don't find this too much of a bad thing as the campaigns are just long enough for things to remain rewarding. Plus, this does mean that the game never pussyfoots around too long in basics land, and the heat moves that you do have also develop new QTE stages with frequent use, so it's not like things will ever get boring or monotonous. However, the ever-present undercurrent of Auk synonymous with the Yakuza series is still around, no doubt flaring up your anus. Like, they've yet to include a proper lock-on feature for one, and your capabilities of going around floored fuckers outside of heat mode are rather limited too. Even when playing as Saejima, who gets the ability to pick up men's early on, the "oh, my balls" animations take way too fucking long, and also getting in the exact pixel-perfect position to initiate a heat prompt can be rather fiddly still, effectively crashing, burning, and breaking up the flow of the otherwise consistently exhilarating combat. Not that I mind much at all, but ultimately these things would have been more smoothed out by now, so I'll just keep bringing them up until they are. So yeah, let's go over who do who. Sexual. Akiyama, the loan shark guy, fights a lot like Horang from the Tekken series. So really fast and speedy kicks and lots of high and mid attacks, even going so far as to be able to juggle dudes pretty effectively. Like, seriously, this dude is mad fucking agile, elegantly rejecting the notion of physics, zooming and zapping all over the place. Saejima, the prison boy, is all about charge attacks. He's slow like a big hulking kickboxer and has you holding down buttons mid or after combo to hardcore fuck up some major shit. Coolest thing about him to me though is that because he's so big, he can pick up items what the others can't. Like entire fucking motorcycles. Sadly, he is my least favorite out of the four lads to play as I typically tend to avoid slow characters. I don't know, something about lumbering around in the uncoolest fashion ever just isn't really my style, though the sheer impact of his hits alone still make him fun to play as, even despite my biases. Tanimura, the baby-faced cop's main gimmick, consists out of parrying and grabbing. L1, which is typically reserved for blocking, allows him to juke an enemy by way of a cheeky reversal. He's generally pretty fucking fast as well, and his grabbing techniques are really quite different from anything else the series have offered up so far. I mean, his grabs have like multiple stages, accessed through pressing the grab button multiple times, and from each of these grab stages, he can enter all kinds of different combos and heat moves. After that, the parrying and the fact that he can roll in and out of dodges just like Akiyama, and you end up with one swift ass grabbing, dude juking, limb breaking, sneaky little wrestle boy. ThorHighheels approved. And Kazuma is just Kazuma once again. So not too slow, not too fast, hard-hitting, kinda like a Tekken character in a way, but not like a dumb hulking tank either. He works, he is good, and I love him. Mwah. Though, it's not like they didn't expand upon him either. Thing is that he's kept most of his moves from Yakuza 3. Like, you play as him last here, so they kinda treat him like an all-stars character of sorts, improving his roster with moves just like or similar to those used by the other three. And that's really fucking great, honestly, as it makes it so that the game still progresses naturally. And it somehow also makes Kazuma seem even cooler than he has ever done before. Arguably though, the greatest thing about him isn't even how he fights. See, him coming back to Kamurocho after about a year obviously comes with its fair share of long time no sees, but in Yakuza's 4's case, they saw this as a good opportunity to give satisfying conclusions to fucking side characters of all things. Seeing that one punk you beat up way back when, for instance, now all lubed up and doing well for himself is exactly what makes this series so special to me. It legitimately rewards you for investing time into this series by simply tugging at your heartstrings, and I can't think of too many long-running series that do that without it being fanservice-y or too overbearing. I fucking love it. Oh, and of course, all of the other boys have their own special about town elements as well. Akiyama used to be a homeless person. This allows him to help out and hang out with the various bums out in the streets, and in return for buying them shit, they can also scratch his back whenever he's in a tight spot. And Saejima, just having spent the last 25 years in prison, feels rather alienated regarding most modern things, which he'll humorously comment on when confronted with this. Touches like these really stand out to me as being quintessentially neat. Reason why is that they incentivize exploration and add another layer of character to the characters and Kamurocho itself. Really, over the course of this and the last 3 games, Kamurocho has started to feel to me like an actual real place. A place that also ended up being a tad bigger, somehow, with its newly built underground shopping mall, a parking garage, metro railways, and murky sewers, all of which interconnecting in awesome labyrinthian ways, topped off by rooftops with all kinds of nooks, crannies, and views for one to enjoy. Hidden away behind the flat blocks though is the Chinatown district, complete with the narrowest alleyways, camera issues, and those moisty, dingy wiring and ventilation installations commonly seen in China. All characters have locations exclusive to them as well, like the prison for Saejima and the just now mentioned Chinatown area for Tanimura, which kinda adds this open world-like unlocking system where parts of the city become accessible gradually, only then like, not shit. As it actually keeps the game from getting boring despite just about all of it taking place within the same location. Though, for those wanting more than just some cool shit to gawk at, you can always go for a relaxing trip to the sauna, play some table tennis, level up your hostess mon, get some DJ Khaled liquor, and then drunkenly play some darts. Yeah, if you crave some proper Lats Night Out antics, you will not be disappointed. Even including something which the game so ignorantly calls a tranny bar. I love it though, and not in the I'm going to master this game of ping pong kind of way, but more so in a hey, let's enter this random place and see what happens like fashion. In short though, there is a lot to see and do here, including some side quests that, despite the main plot being really cool, honestly stand out as some of my favorite moments. Thing is that these aren't just one-off events, as they have their own arcs and everything. Like here, where I was just casually dicking around and exploring when suddenly I bumped into a bunch of rapey suit men hassling this girl. Obviously, I wedged my way up in this business and fenced off the well-dressed foes, only immediately after the woman revealed herself to be an Ada Wong-like creature, a spy of sorts, and the reason that these men were hassling her was because she had stolen some confidential files. Naturally, I was playing as prison boy at the time, so he had no idea what the hell a hard drive was and thus refuted any further involvement, but as I went on, I kept getting approached by suited men asking me about the woman.
How mysterious.
But see what I mean though, shit's really cool. It adds a lot to you just aimlessly exploring, and overall just makes the game really good for longer play sessions as it just keeps shitting out memorable moments like this. So, the main story. I loved it, but it's also kind of a mixed bag. And by mixed bag, I mean that it's fucking great, amazing, and Gucci intrigue right up until the very end where things get cartoonishly stupid. But anyway, the plot doesn't really so much center around this one big rivalry with obvious villain man or men like the last three games did, as instead it's about a series of events both in the past and unfolding currently that affect our main crop of characters, thus inevitably bringing them together to stop this unavoidable conflict. Which can be summed up as:
people is a backstab. All is lies, kill the fuck, money gone.
And what's interesting about this approach as well is that our main dudes aren't even necessarily the most integral people. Or at least not on a surface level. You see, what it seems like to me what they did was that they've... What the hell did I write? What to me it seems like what they did. Okay. Was that they first wrote this really intricate, complex storyline filled with betrayal and deep cuts ties to the older games, but then looked at who of the participants would have the most interesting viewpoints and could be fleshed out more on a personal level. I obviously don't know if that is what they did, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was. In either case, everything that happens here to everyone is of equal importance and ends up feeding into the main story regardless of if it seemed as inconsequential at the time. Which is pretty fucking brilliant, if you ask me. The story, as it is now, is more like a type of crime drama TV show than anything else. With the multiple characters and the plot threads intertwining and colliding in an interesting way, making for big emotion and big mystery. And what would have really made it like the coolest, most hypest thing ever is that all of that would pay off by crescendoing towards a smartly constructed conclusory ending. Except it doesn't really do that. To preface what I'm about to say here, I ain't spoiling any specifics, I'm way too cool for that shit bruh, and this is also far from anything that's game breaking or story ruining. It's still a pretty amazing game for like 90%, trust me, but because of the overused Japanese anime storytelling tropes, Kazuma and the Tojo clan hijacking the story and the need to tie as much of it together as humanly possible, things go full fucking mong in the end. Basically, no one ever dies. Even when they die, they still don't die. They'll come back, and the person who is absolutely not to be trusted ends up being trusted and screws over and kills one of the main characters, even though no one ever dies. It's just beyond predictable at this point and has become increasingly harder for me to buy into as the series goes on. Like, really though, could these people just not be this fucking gullible for once? Cause despite the whole thing being good, the final 2 hours are made very, very dumb because of this. Again, it's nothing too bad, I guess, but also, bruh. Anyway, yeah, I should probably shut up now. This game is great, this series is great, and I totally urge you to give it a try still if you haven't already. The first game in the series is getting a PS4 remake pretty soon, which I think is getting localized as well, so really, now would probably be the best time ever to be a Yakuza fan or to try and become one. Unless, you know, you're like a lame-ass bitch and you don't want to go on random double dates and receive ancient treasure from stray cats and write blog posts about a skyscraper-jumping midnight panty thief.